It's another beautiful Thursday morning here in Lagos. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the program. I am Nifemi Okuntoye. We heard yesterday that the president has put brakes on the cattle settlement project, popularly known as Ruga. Now, Ruga has trended on social media for a while, and many people are now divided as regards what really caused this decision by the presidency, whether or not the president and his cabinet or his advisors are listening to the people this time, or perhaps this particular project was overwhelmed by dissenting voices as we had it in the past couple of weeks. We'll be talking more about this and why that particular settlement was cancelled and moving Nigerian forward as we battle the farmer headers clash that seem to have troubled us for some time now. I'm joined this morning by rights activist and public affairs analyst Nelson Ekujimi. Good morning, and thank you for finding time to come.
Good morning, thank you very much.
Eni Tolukotu, who's a journalist and public affairs analyst. Glad to have you come.
It's a pleasure.
It's our first time on the show together,
right.
So I'm looking forward to some very decisive conversation this morning. Let me begin with you, Nelson. This particular issue of Ruga settlement has attracted a lot of mixed reactions. Most of them, even amongst the governors, haven't been much of a support. Many people have said, oh, is it like settling, is it giving amnesty to people who have killed our people, who have robbed our lands, who have destroyed our farmland? Some have said this is simply the cattle colony in another name. Let me understand what your position is.
Well, my position, thank you very much. I think it's unfortunate that as a people, we tend to politicize, ethnicize, religionize every issue, and it is rather sad. The issue about Ruga, I think it stems firstly from the issue of what does that Ruga means. You know, people ascribed it to be an Hausa Fulani, name. And, even though clarifications were made, because we are in a season of politics, people's mindsets has been tailored towards one particular direction. So even if you shout Hosanna, Hosanna, for them the meaning of Hosanna to some of them is that you are calling crucify him, and we know this is not the case. Their mindset has already been made up. This is a fallout of the bitter ethnicization of our politics from 2015 under the former administration of President Goodluck Jonathan, where he was trying to ethnicize politics in Nigeria, as if, there was a time he made the statement that the only source of, support his government is having is the Christians. And, he played, and it even got so worse that even the current president then, Ayo Olusegun, became like a PA, a domestic staff to the former president, like has never happened before in our political history. Because we've even had a Christian president in former President Olusegun Obasanjo, and we never saw the current president follow him like a personal aide. So it is that fallout of the politics, the bitterness from the 2015 general elections that we are still suffering till date. The Ruga settlement is part of the several measures that the government has, established or set up team to tinker with how can we provide solutions to the farmers' headers clashes. And we know very well that the farmers' headers clashes, has been with us for a very long time. Even I was reading, I was going through my archive, and I realized that the clashes even predates colonial, history. So when people have engagements together, it is very, very likely, it is very, very natural that there will be ups and downs. There will be the good times and there will be the bad times. Just like in a marriage. Because I'm married to a woman does not mean our relationship will be rosy. There will be there will be those times we'll quarrel. There will be those times we might even have to fight.
That's all right.
So this is the fallout of the politicization of every issue.
I'll get back to you on that. But the fact that Mr. President himself has put the brakes on this initiative, given some reasons, the Nation this morning reported that senior officials of the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, as well as others, twisted the National Livestock Transformation Plan, called the NLTP, which was a brainchild of the National Economic Council, which comprised all of the 36 governors. The president himself is saying that there's something wrong with the Ruga settlement. Do you agree with him?
Well, if you look at it, first and foremost, I think one needs to commend the president, for the presidency to have actually put a brake, over this Ruga, looking at the controversy it has generated in the last 1 week or thereabout, because governance, leadership is all about listening, to the people. Regardless or no matter how brilliant your ideas is, you need to get buy-in, from the people you are leading. And the preponderance of opinions, actually, it actually suggests, that the people are not really ready for, the Ruga, considering all the twisting, considering all the sentiments and fears that people are, expressed and all that. So that is okay. And looking at it again, to me, I believe the president should have done a lot of things. You can't shy away from the fact that politicians will always be politicians. They will always look for lacuna, within the system and exploit it to their own gains. So that is their own stock in trade. So nobody should, actually, raise alarm or, cry unnecessarily over that. What the president should have done is to have been more proactive and anticipate and envisage the kind of responses that will come from people. If you recall, before this Ruga, we had a similar thing sometimes, I think last year, about cattle colony. When cattle colony couldn't fly, we were talking about ranching. The federal government wanted to invest massively into ranching, and people shouted again that cattle rearing is a private business, that government should not set a bad precedent of pushing in money, into all those places. And then if you look at the things that have been happening, in recent times, especially in the southwest here, there have been cases of, alleged killings by some suspected Herdsmen and other, allegedly. It has not been confirmed. But if you look at it, you have to be mindful and sensitive to the feeling of the people. When some people are complaining, even if some people are disguising as Fulani Herdsmen and committing all this atrocity and all that. So you have to look at the timing. Timing is very key, in any policy. I have looked at all those things. The truth of the matter is that the Fulani, for a very long time, they have been abandoned. But going forward, we must come to a realization that this is the 21st century. You don't expect the clamor for us to preserve some archaic cultural way of living. We have to modify it, and fit it into the modern reality.
There's no doubt about that. The fact that government intends to transit from pastoralism to ranching in order to reduce the struggle for common resources. But let's talk about the relevance of this agitation, which seemed to have enjoyed popular reaction across board. Everyone is talking about it. As a matter of fact, the high number of participation perhaps informed the suspension by the presidency. How relevant are these fears? For instance, Cross River will tell you that we have forestry. I mean, we have some land reserves that you cannot even touch. So if we're going to follow this plan, we're going to be given like 4 out of 5 of the lands available to us. We have people coming out of the country because of the war ongoing in neighboring countries, and that it was not just going to be fair at all. To welcome Bedouin complaint that they were planning to force this on them. Do you think that this fear is relevant? Bearing in mind, for instance, that many of our communities are yet to heal from the farmer elders clashes.
Yes, thank you very much. I want us to recognize the fact that we operate a constitutional democracy. And under our constitution, the power over land, the only authority over land within the Federal Republic of Nigeria is the state's government, except for Abuja that the federal government has control over. So that should be very, very clear. When people say we don't want it in our territory, you can see the caveat in the policy that interested states should key in. It means it is voluntary, even though yesterday Governor David Umahi said the government was going to adopt the National Livestock Transformation Plan. He gave that caveat again, that states that are interested, nobody is forcing any state into the project. It's a project that is meant to, one, address the insecurity. Because I agree with you that we have these security challenges severally. When media reports, it is only in Nigeria that media reportage of an issue, of a crime, is taken as the gospel truth. I've never seen it done anywhere else. In decent climes, when an incident or a crime occurs, it is the responsibility of the security agencies to investigate and report. But that does not happen here. So one guy will just wake up in social media and write, Fulani Herdsmen attacked social villages. You recollect just last week or 2 weeks ago, a Fulani Christian pastor in Ado Ekiti who arranged this kidnap, purportedly claiming that it was Fulani herdsmen that abducted him, and they were demanding ransom, of which he was the mastermind and the collector of the ransom. So, in as much as we recognize the security challenges, we recognize the economic benefits that this project is supposed to address, because he talked about the cattle ranching being private business. There's no business in this world in a capitalist system that is not private, but government intervenes. As we sit down here, in the last 2 years, the federal government has invested over 55 billion naira as loans to rice farmers, 250,000 rice farmers. As we are sitting down here, the Lagos State government has a Lagos State Employment Trust Fund that accesses, small-scale industrialists, public funds. Why can't we say, why is the government giving people money to do business?
You don't think that this is different given the huge challenge we've had over the years? So when it comes to the pastoral way and manner with which the headers go about the business. Yes. There are people who are saying that this indeed is the 21st century. Yes. That if you're going to do business in this age, you should do it in tandem with the world best practice. Now, I personally would understand why government should get involved, because now government has a responsibility to solve this problem. Too many people are dying. But I'm also concerned that it looks as if we don't settle the issue of justice first, whatsoever thing we do economically would forever be translated this way.
Yes, of course. And Nifemi, you actually hit it on the head, because if you recall, I think on January 1st, 2018, there was a carnage in Benue where about 70 or 73 people were killed, and what we had expected that they were killed allegedly then by Fulani herdsmen and all that, the body language and the response of the presidency was not actually hard enough. So in terms of you having justice, and we have read about cases, where villages were burned down in Jos, in Plateau State, and some other few, states in this country. And who have been brought to book? Who have been brought to justice? So there is a misgiving, there is a mistrust among the people. So every step, every name given to anything you want to do for anybody who is doing, livestock or probably rearing cattle, to be specific, they will actually view it with suspicion. So that was the reason, because I read through all the benefits that that we accrue. I know definitely even the host community will benefit from. And
the government is talking about 2 trillion naira that can be made.
Yes, of course,
from livestock and all of that.
Host community will benefit from the value chain, of that cattle business. But if you look at the approach so far, if you look at the way the federal government has handled the whole thing, they haven't handled it in the very best. And that's why you can see eminent Nigerians like Wole Soyinka, coming on here to say, if you go ahead with this, policy, you are going to set
No, that's not what he said.
He raised the alarm, over that. It is a very sensitive, matter. That the president needs
another fear in this regards is the fact that if we give a portion of our land to people from another place, there are fears that these people can automatically take over this piece of land and then make it theirs. And
no, Nifemi, you are mixing it up. When the government said they are going to set up Ruga settlements, it's not for people from other land. It's for everybody interested in that business.
But there are certain people who predominantly
yes, and nothing stops.
Even in Lagos, the percentage of the people who do this business will know who they are.
Hold on. Are you aware? Hold on. Are you aware that when the Ramadan season or Christmas season is approaching, that some of our people go as far as Kano, Jigawa to go and buy a trailer load of cattle? So if the government said she's going to, the government is calling on state government to come and, be a partner in this project, what stops you that has turned it into a seasonal business to now devote your time and say, oh, since the government is going to provide all these incentives, now I can go into this business properly and make, good and quality gains. So that is what we are saying. It's not that the Ruga settlement will be for only Fulani farmers, as far as I understand. It is for those in the animal husbandry business, except if a contrary, explanation comes out.
No, that is against what we have in the public domain, because the primary purpose of the Ruga settlement is essentially to solve the clashing between the farmer and the herders. So if you are saying it is it is open to general populace, that won't actually fit in here. Because someone like me who probably, you can call those people you said they travel to, Kano, Castina to go and bring in cows. Those people are emergency entrepreneurs.
Let us look at the reasons for the president's action, because we must not get it twisted. There's a difference between the Ruga settlement and the NLTP. Now, what the vice president is saying now, that the Ruga settlement wasn't even part, according to Nation this morning, the Ruga project was not integrated with the National Livestock Transformation Plan agreed upon by the 36 governors. Because it is very simple. If governors sat to agree on a particular project, how come everyone is now talking against it? Another reason here is that contract sums of various aspects of the Ruga project were heavily inflated. Solar panels were put at tens of millions of naira each, and boreholes at 20 million naira each. And of course, senior officials in the Ministry of Agri and others have twisted the NLTP to achieve a different aim. It looks like the presidency will have to sit back, address these issues before moving forward.
No, Lifemi, those areas that you have identified, you must recognize that in government, when you come up with recommendations, it's just like in an institution. If you want to make policy direction, you first of all, after making your recommendation, you give it to the experts to draw it up. And that is what they have done in giving the documents back to the experts in the Ministry of Agriculture. So if there's an inflation of contract, that is purely, corruption. It is not about the plan of the Ruga settlement.
But they're saying now that the Ruga settlement, the way it is drawn now, is different from what was agreed upon in the livestock transformation plan. According to this document, it's aimed to achieve a different objective entirely.
Yes, of course. If you look at it, Nifemi, if you look at the import bill, that the nation has spent on importing livestock, frozen fish, frozen turkeys and all that. So I think that is exactly what NLT, whatever one, that is exactly what it wants, to address. How can we be self-sufficient, in producing all these, livestock, locally, instead of depending on importation and all that. So that has nothing to do with cattle. Well, specifically,
not
so
entirely. According to the Secretary of the National Economic Council, Dr. Andrew Kwasari, he made mention earlier about a market-driven ranching or ranches with different cluster models that will be created in each of the selected states for improved livestock productivity through breed improvement, pasture production, as well as efficient land and water productivity. Now, it is a known fact that we have to move from this extensive form of farming to ranching. But I think the challenge now is that how do we go about ranching? He mentioned that cattle rearing is a personal business. Should we now begin to legislate lands? I mean, if you have money to buy a land for ranching, just go ahead, buy your land, and then you go ahead with your business.
Yes, as Eniton is sitting down here, both of us are beneficiaries of a federal government, investment in the agricultural sector. And even though we are yet to fully harness it, Eniton can attest to it publicly that the amount we got to lease those lands we have is far, far below the market price. And why is it so? Because the federal government is involved. So why is the federal government involved to make Nelson Ekujuni and to look up to farmers at almost zero cost? So when government has a responsibility to ensure the prosperity of its citizens. When people say it's private business, I agree it's private, but does it mean the government should just fold its arms and, you know, is it everybody that has that resources, you know, to harness those businesses?
Is it possible that when this, just a minute, is it possible that if this program flies, that many of those who will benefit from this would be people of Fulani origin?
Definitely not. Definitely not. Definitely not. Because what we have said, which we must get very clear, the government has said this program is open to states who are willing to participate. I think we must get that very clear. The federal government is not going to, the federal government does not have the pass under the laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to take over any land. It does not. And the federal government has not shown the ability or the initiative to do that. And that is why from the reports we had that about 11 of 12 states have keyed into the projects, even including PLATEAU, that, you know, was formerly a hotbed of, you know, herdsmen crisis, herdsmen farmers crisis. So what we are saying is that so long as states are willing and the states are also interested, and by being interested means that the states should provide the enabling environment for such an initiative, you know, to achieve, you know, its primary purpose. Because a lot of times we have had reports of governments at the state level acquiring land for agricultural purposes, only for them at the end of the day to convert those lands, you know, to residential buildings, you know, to, and, you know, sell off those lands, you know, to private estate developers. So I think for us, in view of our past experience, I'm also aware that the House of Representatives, if you recollect, in 2014, set up a committee to investigate the 100 billion naira approved for a similar project under former President Goodluck Jonathan, of which the House of Representatives claimed that the money was released, but the money didn't get, you know, to achieve the desired results.
It appears that deeply seated at the root of all of this is our fears, you know, and the fact that we don't appear to be united. And then there is this fear of, if I give my land to these particular people, I don't trust to live in peace with them in the nearest future. They might even take it over. How do you see us begin to dispel this kind of fears? Well,
before I actually, you know, respond to that, I think I need to make one or two clarification, you know, concerning what Comrade Nelson Ekujinmi said, you know, concerning the land, you know, that was given to us to do one or two things, you know, to boost, you know, localized cassava production. Now, first of all, you must recognize the fact that that land was not grabbed. That land is not entirely our own. The land was leased to us. There is difference between, you know, leasing a land to you, you know, for certain things with a tenure. It is not forever our own. It is different from what we are talking about as far as this Ruga settlement is concerned. Ruga settlement, if you carved a territory for some people who are mainly of certain ethnic extraction, and you want them to, and you want to provide everything to them, so definitely it's going to cause massive disaffection among the people. But mind you, we have the Anchor Borrower Scheme being, you know, supervised by the CBN, which is, of course, you know, targeted towards the local rice production, and nobody is saying anything, you know, concerning that. Anybody, be it Yoruba, Hausa, Fulani, or Ibibio, once you are qualified, you can apply and get whatever you want to do, and it is your business for you to go and get the land. It is your business to discuss with the host community or the owner of the land on terms. So it is your business to do all that. It is not the business of the government. So going forward, now let me come back to
let us stay a bit with what you've said. It appears that the only difference I can see from what you have narrated now is just the fact that one is leased and the other one is sold to the other parties.
No. One is leased, you know, for people to probably do, you know, agric activities on it. But another one is taken completely. If a state donates, the land will forever be that of those. I don't want to do ethnic profiling here. The land will forever be you know, be given to those people.
We'll
and
get
that
back
is
to
the
this
fear.
very
That
quickly.
is the fear of the people.
Let's take this call
If anybody is interested in cattle rearing and I have a parcel of land, and once I'm okay with it, I can give it to you.
Let me hold it for a minute to take this call from Abia. Good morning, Okurafo.
Good morning, Mr. Anita. Good morning, our guests in the studio.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Yes, sir. The suspension has shown that Nigerian government has a listening ear. Thank God for that. I suggest the government should go for a referendum on Ruga as an elected society. Let's go on referendum. If the government still wanted to go on, that referendum will now suggest which people or which group that are interested for the Ruga. At least with looking at the benefits you have been listening on the issue of Ruga, the rural grazing area. That's the meaning of Ruga. Now, we have to look into this issue. Our land use law has a problem, not yet solved. That is why the government has to go back again and look at this issue of land. Because a situation whereby you have a land now, by the time your father died and go, that the brother will come now and start claiming that the land belongs to all of them, whether it's their own father's property. You see the whole thing shaking. The Ruga is one of the what we call agricultural extension in Nigeria. Because of a level of illiteracy, the thinking and the perception of any innovation, that is why we have this commotion and confusion. Thank God the government, they are listening. Because you saw what happened in Hong Kong when they came with this issue of extradition. What happened in Hong Kong. So we are not playing for such thing in Nigeria. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day in Lagos.
Glad to have you calling, Okurafo. So this is the idea now. A Ruga settlements where herders will live, where they will grow their cattle and produce milk. Now, if we're trying to move from pastoralism to ranching, why should herders live on a land that does not belong to them? If we're going to move into intensive form of farming, shouldn't everyone go back to where they live naturally, and then these infrastructures are given to them? So if there's going to be a settlement in the southwestern part of the country, for instance, it shouldn't be occupied by herders who naturally do not live in those areas. Isn't that what he's saying?
Please, I think we must get one thing very clear. He talked about leasing. Whether you are leasing the land or you are buying the land, if we understand the Land Use Act very clearly, your ownership of a land cannot extend beyond 100 years. And even if I've leased the land, it does not mean that that land belongs to me. Even if I've built a structure to live there pending the period of my lease. When we are talking about the Ruga settlement, that the herders, when we are talking about herders, please, let us also be very careful in making sure we make people realize that when we say an herdsman, it's not only somebody who is pastoring cattle, somebody who is pastoring chickens, pigs, rabbits,
Let me hold
goats.
you. Let me hold you for a minute. Just hold that thought. I understand that Pastor Lawa is online as well. We're going to take a short break and return. We'll be able to talk more about this and also take more of your calls. Stay with us. Thanks for joining us again. The Ruga settlement project of the federal government has now been suspended, and that's what we're talking about on the program today. If you just joined us, I have Nelson Akujimi and Enito Lukocho. Thank you, gentlemen, for staying the course on the program this morning. All right, so the fear is that if I give my land to people of other ethnicity, generations will pass and then they might lay claim to it. So when state government earmarks a land for Ruga settlement, or whatever we call it, the NLTP, who owns that land?
Under the laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the sole custodian of land anywhere within the geographical expression called Nigeria is the state's government. So if you build your house on a parcel of land now, even though you have authority to the land, at any point in time, the government can, take over your land for public good. So when the government has carved out a part of our land for Ruga,
does this include lands that have C of O? I mean,
yes,
where we have built our land?
the government.
Just a minute. Let's take this call from Surulere. Good morning, Femi.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The Ruga issue from 2015, in the sense that we had the most divisive election in 2015. The president that was elected didn't address that issue properly. So there is suspicion all over the land. So anything that is cut from him, it is seen in a different angle. And when you say this Ruga settlement, they have already said every state wants to do it. A full animal doesn't put head down and leg up to grow cow. So there is nobody that is not in. The people should be interested, but it is not politically manipulated. You now see it as a Fulani agenda because the president didn't address that issue of 2015 to make sure that everybody comes on board. Because if you look at all these appointments, even when the PDP was there, they were sharing posts properly. That is, the secretary to the government should have gone to the southeast or south. If they had done that, everybody will be on board. The secretary to the government will know what is happening. So all those acrimonies, he didn't address it in his first time. You address it this time. When you address it this time, things will go well.
That's all right. Thank you very much for your contribution, Femi. So if this state government ownership you're talking about applies to lands that already have CEOs, what I'm trying to address here is the sense of ownership. So it doesn't matter who really has the land. If I've purchased the land and I have my house built on it and I have lived on it, perhaps my grandfather lived on it, I begin to have a sense of ownership that this territory belongs to me. Does this solve in any way the challenge that we currently have? Because the narrative has been that, oh, the armed bandits killing our people are foreigners. Do we intend to give these same foreigners the land? How does this in any way solve the current problem of the farmers' herders challenge?
Well, I think we must get one thing very clear. He talked about, let me also go back, he talked about the killing of about 71 people or so in Benue State. Yeah. I'm sure every one of us sitting down here and people watching us at home know very well that the federal government does not have powers over prosecution of criminals. It is a state responsibility. The only powers the federal government has over prosecution of anybody is for treasonable felony. So if armed robbers have operated in the states and the security agencies have not apprehended them, I think the responsibility should be focused on the security agencies rather than everybody calling on the president. Because under the law, if you are charged for murder, say in Lagos State, the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has no pass to intervene.
Let me hear Ennington's position as regards this.
No, you see, what happened is that who controls the Nigerian police force? Is it not federal government? It is not the state government. We don't have state police as of today in Nigeria. So for someone to say that the state government has actually dropped the ball, in getting those people who allegedly committed a crime, arrested, I don't think it is. It is proper. It is the federal government. We are talking of human lives.
Did you think that if we're not able to solve this challenge of armed banditry, we might not be able to have people believe in, the projects of settling these headers?
Yes, of course. Because if you look at it, the sentiments, rightly or wrong, or wrongly, you have out there is that the presidency is actually, favoring people of certain ethnic extraction, against the other. So it behoves, it is the responsibility of the federal government. And you have someone who is, from that ethnic extraction.
I'll get back to you. Let's take this call from Ojo. Hello, Jason. Good morning. Hello, Jason. Are you there? Right, you might have to call back. Please go ahead.
So it is the responsibility of the president to actually demonstrate to the nation that we are here to. A lot of people have cried out over this issue. That what is really going on? Is it that we can't, we can't need this in the board once and for all? Is it a must that you must settle, some people? Initially, they were complaining about cattle routes. The route they usually, pass through in grazing and all that. The grazing route or reserve and what have you, that development has taken, has overtaken that government should see what to do to that. So, for instance, let's say in journalism, if development happen by the virtue of technology, that a lot of things happens, and you need to do things the right way, will you be insisting that you must maintain the ways of old when there are better and improved ways of doing things? So the solution is very simple. The solution going forward is for the herders to actually find where it is unheard for. You can't be leading cattle from Sokoto to Kano, and you expect that some people will say, okay, you are coming all the way from Maiduguri, you are coming to Ogun State, and you want the state government there to now give you where you will settle another. The same cattle, you can actually put them in a place, provide the necessary things that are needed. For instance, I have chicken at home too.
Yes.
So they don't roam around.
And you don't take them.
I don't take them anywhere.
You can't even take them far because they are chickens.
That's it.
Let's take this conversation to Plateau State. Good morning, David.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning.
Welcome. Please go ahead with your contribution.
Yes, I'm of the opinion that President Muhammadu Buhari missed the mark. I'm of the opinion that President Muhammadu Buhari missed the mark since 2015. When this crisis started, there was no serious action taken. And for those of us who love this man so much, there is this fear that, yes, he's backing a certain number of people from a particular region. And as a result of that, people are beginning to feel they do not have that trust. And it is only this trust that is taken away from this Ruga issue. And until Nigeria begin to trust each other, there is nothing this man will do that will be acceptable by the people. The only thing now is to sensitize the people and also to be proactive enough, come out on time if there are issues. You should not just sit back and feel that, okay, things will go their natural way. You should be able to come up on board and address the matter squarely, immediately, not waiting forever, as if those things will go their way. And it's because of this that people are beginning to feel that nothing good is coming from this man. His projects are laudable, very, very nice, but he needs to build trust around himself and build trust in the people that, in fact, that we and many Nigerians who truly believe in his government. Unless that is done, definitely it will be difficult for him to sell himself, to sell his ideas. And people around him, they are not communicating. They should be able to communicate to Nigerians effectively. And until that is done, I'm afraid this man will end up these 4 years and nothing will come out of it.
Let us remain optimistic, David. Thank you for your contribution. How do we build this trust? Because that seemed to be very critical. The fact that not many people can trust, as we speak right now, this project. And no matter how genuine, the projects are, just like David said, we need to start building trust.
Well, I think to correct or to counter David's position, if Nigerians don't trust this president, how come just a few months ago, the same Nigerians gave him an overwhelming mandate to return into office?
No, but there are more to the
president. Hold on, Ifemi.
Just a minute. I want us to be very deliberate in this conversation.
Yeah.
The fact that the president was re-elected it's not the same thing as the Ruga settlement. We saw the protest across the country. It's the same reason why the president himself.
Protest at where?
Why did the
Where
president,
did you see the protest, please?
Why did the president suspend this program?
Well, the president, as the commander-in-chief, receives briefing from various organs of state.
The
president is not Nigeria. The president is just one man.
With the initiative. My point here really is the fact that I think it's an established fact that not many people trust this program.
No, some people trust this program, including my humble self, and some people do not. That is the reality of life.
But majority.
Did you take a census? How can you say majority?
I'm just wondering why the president will suspend.
When did you take the census?
I'm coming.
Listen, I'm just wondering
if the majority has supported this program, the presidency would have gone on.
Says who?
Of course,
where did you take the source? That's what I'm asking you.
Okay,
do you just sit down here and generalize?
You are not making any generalization.
So you said majority. I have not said majority. I said some for, some against.
Okay, now
which is the reality.
So I'm coming. If you have,
how did you arrive at a higher people saying no and the lesser number saying yes? How did you arrive at that?
But if you have the equal, let's say 50-50, yes, why would the federal government back up?
The federal government has not backed out.
Suspended.
All right, gentlemen, just a minute. Let's take a call from OWERRI. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for calling in. Please go ahead with your contribution.
Okay. Please, I really want to say something about this Ruga. It has been an issue for a long time. If indeed the people championing this cause have sat down to articulate it very well, they would have known that you can build your ranch at any part of this nation, in any part of this nation, even in the north, come down to the east, buy your grass, feed your cattle. At the end, you bring this cattle here for consumption. Definitely, there won't be any reason for herders and farmers to be crashing. And like the man in the studio there said, that the pressmen, they are overflowing the issue of killings and all the rest of them. Indeed, the press have never overflowed any issue. It's a glaring truth. What happened in Enugu and Benue is a clear-cut evidence. I'm talking about the Nigerian police. In Enugu, when the information was reached to the governor that there is a looming attack, the governor informed the police. The police was waiting for the IG to give him command to take action until the mayhem was taken or done, and nobody was arrested. Please, what we are saying is let us turn this thing into business. As an Igbo man, if an Hausa man will have a ranch in a place in Imo State, and he needs the farm, they need grass, we are willing to cultivate the grass and sell to him and make money while he brings his meat at the Buddha Abattoir and we buy. It's business. Nobody brushes each other's business. He wants to camp in the north. He camps there, do his ranch there. Come down here. Hence, they said the grass from the south or south is the best. Let them come and buy grass from us. We make money. They make money. There won't be problem. Please. That's my contribution.
It sounds like a very simple solution to this program. I mean, to this problem. But how realistic is that?
So it is quite realistic. I have to be very frank with you, Nifemi. We don't need to overflow this issue, and we don't need to, appear to be too, sympathetic to a particular ethnic extraction, at the expense of others. The truth of the matter is that if you are interested in this, your cattle rearing, you can do that within the confine of your own territory. It is very simple. So you don't have to, you just talk about sourcing, of fees for the cattle and all that, which is a very simple solution. For instance, the chicken I rear in my own house, I don't grow the maize, I don't grow anything. I buy it, I don't take them out. They don't roam the streets, including the goats that we have, some of us have, at our own, household level. We don't take them outside to disturb others.
I'm concerned about...
Now, if you are talking, the intervention that the government ought to have done, just like what we have witnessed in the areas of fertilizer. So you can bring in what we call incentives. You can bring in what we call subsidy on the feeds.
That's all right. Let's before I come to you, Nelson, let's take Yakubu's call from Dokpemu. Good morning, Yakub.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
And then good morning to your two guys.
Good morning, Yakub.
First and foremost, before you are Yoruba or Fulani or Igbo and other tribes in this country, first and foremost, before you become a Yoruba and other tribe in this country, you are first a Nigerian. The question is this: Nifemi, earlier in the topic, one of your guests says that the Ruga of a thing is a perfect business. Yes, there's no doubt about it. Nifemi, for example, the airport that built in this country, all over the country, was it built by all these private companies that is flying the aircraft in that place? The resources of the federal government used to build all those infrastructure and then the infrastructure was used by the private business, and then they are paid the tax to the federal government. This program of a thing that we are talking about, are they going to give them land free? I think it is no. Because if a state sign into that Ruga of a thing, there will be modality. If I can be able to give you my land, it's not going to be free. You are really the cattle within that land that I give to you. You will be paid tax for that very particular state. That is number one. Number two, one of your guests said that they have a chicken in a house. I'm talking about Olukotu. Yes, you can have an 100 chicken, 100 fowl in your house, but you cannot keep a cattle, 100 cattle in your home. You have to have a land to be able to keep those cattle. That is number one. Listen me quickly. You are talking about Fulani Herdsmen, Fulani Herdsmen, they are killing people. Listen, I want to ask you, sir. Are you going to tell me there is no any other tribe in this country that have people that is killing each other in this country? I'm talking about criminal-minded people. For example, in Offa robbery, are you telling me it's a Fulani people carry the gun and killing people in Offa last time? It is a Yoruba people mixing up with the Igbo people killing people in Offa robbery. See, if we really want to settle this herdsman and farmer class, either we settle for ranching or we settle for Ruga. If you are saying it's a profit business, yes, there's no doubt about it. If let me talk to you. My brother, I said it last time we are discussing about it. My brother have almost 80 cattle to 100 cattle, managed by Fulani that was staying with us for almost God nowhere, because I go not know them in my village. And then we trust them to the extent that my brother buy cattle. He started from 10. Today, the cattle grown up to 80 to 100. As Ilaya is coming, I said it last time, I will be buying cattle from my brother. The cattle that I will go to open market to buy at 80,000 naira. Because it's a family, he can give it to me 40,000 naira. I'm good to go. So what are you telling? If federal government giving them a parcel of land, or state giving them a parcel of land, they were not only Fulani go to benefit from them. I'm telling you, I'm a Yoruba person by name. So
it's all right. I think that you've made your contribution, and quite passionately. I agree with Yakub that we should all be first Nigerians before our ethnic affiliation. And perhaps that's one direction we should take this conversation to. We must begin to find out, how do we resolve the ethnic coloration that has bedeviled this initiative?
Well, that's a tall order, because except people who have matured minds, people who are civilized in their thinking. I'll tell you clearly, this Ruga of a thing, I read it and I said, this is my opinion. And you need to see the barrage of insults, calls, and people were saying, you belong to this organization, this is how. I said, my membership of an organization does not take away my rationality. Whatever position the organization puts forward, as a responsible, as a civilized being, I must be able to look at it dispassionately and say, does this thing make sense? So because you people are all going in one direction, I should just follow you like a mob? I said, no, I'm an intellectual, I won't do that. I must know the pros and cons. I'm talking about this Ruga. This Ruga is just the same thing as ranching. And what we are saying, somebody is saying, take it to your territory. He has just made a reference. I was somewhere in Ogun State, in Ado-Odota, and I saw this young Fulani boy pastoring almost about 100 cows. And I told him, I want to buy one. The boy directed me to the owner of the cattle. And that is what I'm saying here, that a lot of those heads that we see are not even, those of us who have these misgivings about one ethnic, nationality. Those misgivings, even though they might be genuine, are the things we should really focus upon and try to address, rather than, profiling the whole ethnic nationality because of the crime of
I think I get your point. Let's take Boniface call very quickly from Port-Harcourt. Good morning, Boniface.
Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning for yeah, the Ruga issue. I do not know. Our problem in this country is lack of law. This person will say Yoruba, this will say Igbo, this will say Hausa. We are in one Nigeria. We are lacking law. Our law is tailored towards ethnic lines. If Igbo man can move to Sokoto to do a business, Why won't our man or Yoruba man come to Igbo land to do business? The federal government appear not to have handled this matter very professionally. I had expected the presidency to call the governors for meeting, table this. First of all, resolve the issue of killings attributed to herdsmen. The killing created a terrible shocking tension between those who own land where cattle rearers are, and even the cattle rearers themselves.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to cut you now because of time, but I think that you made your point, Boniface. Thank you for talking to us. We have to take this home now. I grew up having fond memories of Fulani people. I mean, there's always been a cordial relationship between even the nomadic lifestyle and the host communities. You buy the milk from them and all of that. But there are many people who will say a lot has changed over the years. So the land resources haven't always been there. We have built more houses, so there are now limited resources, and that's why we have to also begin to, our way of farming also has to evolve and all of that. But how do we resolve this ethnicity, I mean, this ethnic coloration? So apparently someone doesn't even just want to hear Fulani. It doesn't matter whatever initiative you're coming up with.
Well, the ethnic profiling and name calling that we have seen in recent time, I don't think it will go anytime soon, because it has been here, for a while. And I think what the presidency, especially politicians themselves, what they need to do is to know that the nation is bigger than every one of us, and they should not set the nation ablaze because of their own selfish political ambition, because I see a lot of politics in this.
Gentlemen, we might just have to leave it there because of our time. We cannot explore all of this in a 1 hour debate. I must thank you, Nelson Ekujimi, rights activist and public affairs analyst, and Eto Olukotum, journalist and political affairs analyst.
It's a pleasure.
It's glad having this conversation with you. So this conversation continues, and Okoyeru will be back tomorrow by 10:30 a.m. for more. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. Thank you for staying with us.